More than money, understanding Filipino courting culture. There are cultures you can understand by reading books, and there are cultures you can only understand by listening to the heart. Today, I want to talk about Filipino courtship, a topic that is often misunderstood, oversimplified, or unfairly judged. Words like dowry, money, gifts, or providing are often used without context, and when culture loses context, it loses meaning. So today, let's slow down. Let's step away from assumptions. And let me invite you into a story, not about money, but about responsibility, honor, and love. This is not an argument. This is an explanation. When people hear about Filipino courting traditions, some immediately say, "Isn't that outdated? Isn't that just for foreigners? Isn't that just about money?" And I understand where that reaction comes from, because in many cultures today, love has become individual, private, between two people only. But Filipino culture has always understood love differently. Love here is communal. Love is family-centered. Love is responsibility, not just emotion. So when you judge Filipino courtship using only modern Western ideas, you're not seeing the whole picture. You're seeing the surface, but missing the soul. Let's be very clear about one thing. Filipino courtship is not a transaction. It is not buying a bride. It is not selling a daughter. It is a test of readiness. In Filipino culture, marriage is not just about romance. It is about building a household, joining families, and continuing legacy. So during the courting stage, a man is expected to show that he has the capacity to provide. Not luxury, not wealth, capacity. Can you stand on your own feet? Can you protect? Can you support? Can you lead with integrity? This is why gifts, money, jewelry, symbolic offerings exist. They are signals, not payments. In many Filipino families, engagement gifts are shown to elders, fathers, mothers, sometimes grandparents. Why? Because elders are not gatekeepers of control. They are guardians of wisdom. When a woman shows an engagement gift to her family, she is not saying, "Look how much I got." She is saying, "This man is prepared to take responsibility for me and our future." The gift speaks on behalf of the man. It says, "I understand what marriage means here. I respect your daughter. I respect your family. And most importantly, I am ready." Now let's talk about the word that causes the most confusion. Dowry. In Filipino tradition, what people casually call dowry is not obligatory. There is no fixed amount, no price tag, no rule book. Traditionally, if anything is given, it is given by the man to the woman. Why? Because the man is expected to prove leadership, not demand benefit. And here's something many outsiders don't realize. In many Filipino families, the bride's family later gives inheritance, land, property, business responsibility, or family assets. Sometimes this happens after the wedding, sometimes years later, sometimes through a formal declaration that the husband now handles family affairs. So the flow is not one-sided. It is reciprocal, it is balanced, it is rooted in trust. For Filipinos, money has never been just money. It represents sacrifice, hard work, stability, commitment. When a man gives during courtship, he is saying, "I am willing to carry weight. I am willing to sacrifice. I am willing to show up, even when it's hard." And for the woman, accepting that is not greed. It is acceptance of his intention. This culture was shaped in villages, where families survived together, where marriage was survival, partnership, and legacy combined. You cannot erase centuries of meaning and reduce it to one word. If you come from another culture, you are not wrong for seeing things differently. But difference does not mean deception. Tradition does not mean exploitation. And culture does not mean ignorance. Filipino courtship is not perfect. No culture is. But it is deeply human. It asks, are you ready to lead? Are you ready to commit? Are you ready to be accountable, not just to a woman, but to a family? In the next part, we will talk about family honor, why elders matter, and why love here is never just between two people. This is only the beginning. In the first part, we talked about responsibility, about readiness, about why Filipino courtship is not about money, but meaning. Now in this part, we're going deeper. Because to truly understand Filipino culture, you must understand family. Not as background noise, not as occasional visitors, but as the foundation of identity. In many parts of the world, marriage is a private contract between two individuals. In the Philippines, marriage is a union of families. When you marry a Filipina, you are not just choosing a partner, you are choosing a a role that says, I will show respect to your parents. I will honor your elders. I will not disappear when life gets difficult. This is why family approval matters so deeply, not because parents want control, but because they want continuity and protection. Many outsiders ask, why do parents need to approve? Why does the father matter? Why does the grandfather still have a voice? The answer is simple, but emotional. Elders are the keepers of memory. They remember struggles, failures, hard-earned lessons, sacrifices that built the family. When a father looks at a suitor, he is not asking, is he rich? He is asking, will my daughter be safe with him? Will he stand firm when life tests him? Will he respect her even when no one is watching? In Filipino culture, provision is not dominance, it is service. A man who provides is not above his wife. He is accountable to her. Providing means, you don't walk away when money is gone. You don't abandon your family when times are hard. You don't shift responsibility when pressure comes. This is why families look for signs of provision early, not to demand, but to assess. When a family accepts a suitor, it is not casual, it is emotional. It means, you are now one of us. You are trusted with our daughter. You will carry our name forward. That acceptance is not given lightly, and once given, it comes with loyalty that lasts generations. Filipino culture survived colonization, war, poverty, and migration because of family-centered values. When systems failed, family stayed. When governments collapsed, family endured. So when people say, this tradition is old, yes, it is old. And that is precisely why it still works. Modern love often says, if I'm unhappy, I leave. Filipino love says, if life is hard, we endure, together. That difference is not weakness, it is resilience. If you are a man courting a Filipina, understand this. She is not asking for proof of wealth. She is asking for proof of character. She wants to know, will you stand when things fall apart? Will you respect her roots? Will you value her family as she does? And if you can do that, you are already rich in the ways that matter. In the next part, we will talk about misconceptions, foreign dating narratives, and why Filipino women are often misunderstood globally. Because the story told about them is often not the story they live. There is a story often told about Filipino women. And then, there is the truth they live. This part of the conversation may feel uncomfortable for some, but discomfort is sometimes the doorway to understanding. Across the world, Filipino women are often described using shallow words, gold diggers, looking for foreigners, only after money. These labels are easy. They require no curiosity, no listening, but they erase history, they erase culture, they erase dignity. Filipino women grow up watching sacrifice. They see mothers stretch small budgets, care for extended family, put children before themselves, carry emotional labor silently. From a young age, they learn love is responsibility, love is endurance, love is action. So when a Filipina values a man's ability to provide, it is not greed. It is wisdom passed down through generations. In many cultures, strength is loud. It demands attention. Filipina strength is often quiet. It looks like working overseas for family, sending money home instead of spending it, enduring distance, loneliness, and longing, choosing stability over impulse. This is not weakness. This is resilience. Let's address something honestly. Yes, many Filipinas date or marry foreigners, but the reason is rarely what people assume. Often it is because they value commitment, they value effort, they value seriousness about family, and sometimes they meet men from other cultures who still believe in responsibility. That's not opportunism, that's alignment. Money without intention is empty. Intention without effort is meaningless. Filipina culture looks for both. A man does not need to be rich, but he must be willing. Willing to show up, willing to contribute, willing to stand firm. That is the standard. When Filipina women are reduced to stereotypes, it does real harm. It dismisses their education, their emotional intelligence, their loyalty, their values, and it ignores the fact that many Filipinas bring more emotional labor and stability into relationships than they ever receive. If you are a Filipina listening to this, your values are not outdated. Your expectations are not shameful. Your culture is not something to apologize for. You come from a lineage of women who built families with very little and gave everything they had. That deserves respect. Before you judge a culture, ask what it had to survive. Filipino courtship survived poverty, colonization, and separation because it taught people how to choose wisely, not impulsively. In the next part, we will talk about modern relationships, culture clashes, and how Filipino traditions can still exist in today's world, because tradition is not the enemy of progress. Forgetting meaning is. Tradition is often mistaken for resistance to change. But in Filipino culture, tradition has never been rigid. It has always been adaptive, because survival demands flexibility, and love demands understanding. Modern Filipino couples live in a very different world. Women work, men share domestic roles, families are smaller, distances are larger, and yet, the core values remain. Respect, responsibility, family. These values don't disappear when society modernizes. They simply find new expressions. Today, courtship might look like, but the question is still the same. Are you ready to build something together? That question has never changed. When a Filipina dates someone from another culture, compromise becomes necessary. But compromise does not mean abandonment. A woman can honor her culture while adapting to her partner's. A man can respect Filipino traditions without losing his identity. Love does not ask one person to disappear. It asks both to listen. Most cultural conflict does not come from tradition. It comes from assumptions, lack of communication, refusal to learn. When people dismiss customs as nonsense, they close the door to understanding. Curiosity builds bridges. Judgment burns them. In today's Philippines, men are not expected to dominate. They are expected to partner. Leadership is no longer about control. It is about accountability. Providing is no longer about money alone. It is about presence, consistency, and effort. Modern Filipino women are not passive. They choose who they love, what they accept, what they walk away from. Tradition does not silence them. It gives them standards. In a world where relationships are often disposable, Filipino values ask something radical. Stay. Work through difficulty. Think long-term. These ideas may seem old, but they are deeply needed. At the end of every cultural discussion, there is a simple question waiting to be answered. What truly matters? Not opinions, not assumptions, not labels, but meaning. Filipino courtship is not about money. Money is only a symbol, a visible sign of something invisible. What truly matters is this. Are you willing to commit beyond feelings? Are you ready to carry responsibility? Are you prepared to build a future that includes more than just yourself? That is the heart of it all. In many modern societies, relationships are built on convenience. When love feels easy, people stay. When it becomes difficult, people leave. Filipino culture offers a different lens. Love is not just something you feel. It is something you do. Every day. It is staying when it would be easier to walk away. It is choosing effort over escape. Filipino families think in generations. Marriage is not only about two people. It is about what comes after. Children, values, stories. When families ask about readiness, they are not being intrusive. They are protecting a future they may never see, but deeply care about. No culture is perfect. But Filipino courtship deserves respect because it centers responsibility over impulse, family over isolation, commitment over convenience. In a world that moves fast and forgets easily, these values stand still and strong. If you are listening from another culture, thank you for staying open. Understanding does not require agreement, only respect. If you are Filipino or Filipina, know this. Your culture is not backwards. Your values are not outdated. Your expectations are not too much. They are rooted in survival, love, and dignity. Before judging a tradition, ask what it was built to protect. Filipino courtship was built to protect women, families, future generations. That is not nonsense. That is love, expressed through responsibility. This has been More Than Money, Understanding Filipino Courting Culture. Thank you for listening. Thank you for learning. And most of all, thank you for choosing understanding over assumption.